Good evening. The time is now 7 o'clock on January 10th, and I call this meeting to order. Staff, will you conduct a roll call to establish if we have a quorum present?
Yes, thank you. And I would like to first introduce the new Planning and Zoning Director, Denise Brookins, who's here tonight. So, Denise. Chairwoman Eccles,
Here.
Commissioner James,
Present.
Commissioner Devers,
Present.
Commissioner Smith,
Here, present.
Commissioner Stewart,
Present.
Commissioner Jones.
Present.
Chairwoman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. May we all stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Staff, tonight is a night that we do our election of officers, and we will do that at this time. I move to, so we can go forward with that, right? We can go forward.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, you can move forward with electing someone as the chair.
Okay. Fellow commissioners, would you like to make a motion for an appointment for a commissioner for 2023?
I nominate Jason to be the chairperson.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposes? That motion carries. And now for election of vice chair.
I nominate Tony Stewart to be the vice chair.
I second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposes? That motion carries. Okay. Well, we should change spaces.
Jason?
We should change spaces.
Do we do that? Oh, like live? And we're better than the U.S. government.
Thank you.
Right.
Yep, yep. Checks in the mail.
Switch the names, that's right.
I don't think so. Let's see. First of all, thank you, fellow commissioners. Appreciate it. Happy 2023. Public comments. I will now open the period for public comments. Please, for those in attendance, reserve your comments related to a specific agenda item when I call for comments on that item. Comments to the Planning and Zoning Commission should be limited to no more than 2 minutes. Groups wishing to address an issue should elect one or more spokespersons. The time allowed for all issues shall not exceed a total of 15 minutes. Issues raised at this time are generally referred to the Director of Planning and Zoning for review, and responses will be provided at a later date. So now I allow time for anyone wishing to speak on public comments. Okay, if there are no public comments, we will move on with the, yes, sir.
Could you define public comments? Is that on any issue of the evening, or is that just a general public comment before we bring a specific agenda item?
Yeah, this is before we bring up specific agenda items. So if you're here for that specific, this is, yes. Yeah, I'll read that again. Reserve your comments related to a specific agenda item when I call for comments on that item. So, no problem. I'm learning as I go as well, so. We'll now seek out the approval of the meeting agenda. Commissioners, I'll now entertain a motion to approve the meeting agenda for this evening. May I have a motion?
I move that we approve the agenda for tonight, January 10th, 2023.
Commissioner Deavers, second that motion.
All in favor of approving the meeting agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes. The approval of the meeting minutes. Commissioners, I trust that you have reviewed the meeting minutes from December 6th, 2022 meeting. There are no questions or discussions. I will now entertain a simple motion to approve the minutes. Any commissioners have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from our December meeting?
I move that we approve the minutes from the December 6th, 2022 meeting.
Commissioner Deavers, second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Currently, with public hearing, we do not have anything on the agenda under public hearing. I believe that is correct, staff? Get a head nod, right? Old business, we currently do not have anything on the agenda under old business. Is that correct?
We do have a public hearing.
Oh, we do, I do, I'm sorry. I'm going on the, again, looking for, which one over here? Old business, got it. New business, sorry, on 7, there we go. This is out of order. So again, I appreciate you bearing with me. We did the public hearing, public comments. Where are we at? Yeah, okay, yeah. So now we're at the public hearing, 2022170. Let me pull that up. I think these are, there we go, I'm sorry.
No, you good. Doing good, Jason.
Just let them know it was about to.
Do we need to wait for them?
Yeah, the applicant's out in the.
Okay, great. I just think these were out of order, that's all.
Yes, I apologize. I think we did the the script on an old agenda, so I'm very
That is
sorry about that.
totally fine. Should have known.
It's a hazing.
So now I will ask staff, we're going to be discussing the second variance, I believe 2022170, the address in question, 425 Fairburn Industrial Boulevard, the request, Fairburn Travel Center request for relief from the interpretation of the planning and zoning director as it relates to the definition of truck stop in section 80-478 of the City of Fairburn Code of Ordinances. I will now ask the staff to present their analysis. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. This case number is 2022-170 SV, and it's for Fairburn Travel Center. This is a secondary variance, which the Planning and Zoning Commission is authorized to hear an appeal for the interpretation of staff based on the ordinance. The interpretation relates to the definition of truck stop that's provided in the City of Fairburn zoning ordinance, and it's based on how it's applied to a proposed use that has come before the city for a property specifically at 425 Fairburn Industrial Boulevard. The subject property is, the subject site is zoned C2, and it's also in the Georgia Highway 74 overlay district, so it is in an overlay district as well. There exists today an operating gas station at 425 Fairburn Industrial Boulevard, and there were meetings leading up to this case being before you internally with members of staff and based on a series of applications to the city that articulated this desire to operate a trucks or the proposed use at the site. So I will direct you to the site plan. The kind of lighter gray over on the right-hand side of the site plan is the existing gas station, and then the darker gray is the proposed use for the truck portion that is proposed as a function of this. As staff conducted the analysis of the proposed use, just as a normal function of applicants coming before staff for different application requests, it was determined that the expansion meets the definition of truck stop, and I'll read that for you. It's provided in section 80-478, and the definition of truck stop reads: a commercial establishment that provides fuel, parking, and sometimes food, primarily used for trucks, usually located on or near interstate or seek state highways. And staff believes that that is a Scrivener's error. It should be or state highways in the zoning ordinance. So the proposed use is intended to accommodate truck traffic in its entirety, the proposed portion, and is immediately adjacent to Highway 74. So it is adjacent to that state highway based on the definition. So as such, staff interpreted this to be a truck stop by definition. And when we refer to the uses, the allowable uses in the C2 district, truck stop is not an allowable use. In fact, gasoline service stations in particular are noted as allowed except truck stops specifically. So therefore, staff identified that the use is not proposed to be initiated on the subject site. So we also, in the staff report, provided a chronology of the events that happened leading up to this meeting. In particular, in May 2016, a concept plan was reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission at that time for a 4 diesel pump canopy and an additional retail space. And by the terms of section 77-77, which is the certification section of the subdivision ordinance, approval of concept plans do expire if a preliminary plat is not obtained within a year of that approval date. Therefore, staff considers that the 2016 approval has expired. So more recently, the applicant came to the city and spoke with the prior director and received some feedback, and then subsequently submitted an LDP request to which the interim administration reviewed it and made a determination through that LDP review process that this is a use that is not permitted. There's some additional detail by date in the staff report. Unfortunately, for the applicant, because there were no prior approvals that we could identify that afforded the applicant any vested rights under the previous potential interpretation, then we had to rely on our own interpretation. I as the interim director, had to rely on my current interpretation of that. So after receiving the formal determination that this use is considered a truck stop, the applicant applied for the secondary variance to be heard before this body tonight as part of their due process rights in the code. And so staff finds that the applicant met all of the requirements to be able to be heard tonight for that secondary variance request. And so now what I want to do is kind of identify what your authority is for hearing these based on the facts of the case. So your authority to hear these appeal of administrative decision or secondary variances are outlined in section 80-274 of the zoning ordinance. And your authority, you're given the following authority to either affirm an order, requirement, or decision wholly or partly, and to reverse an order, requirement, or decision wholly or partly. And so in making this decision, your authority is based on whether or not, based on the facts of the case, staff erred in making this determination. If you agree that staff made the appropriate determination based on the facts, then the decision would be to affirm. If you disagree and find that staff erred in making the decision, then you would reverse the decision. This is not based on whether or not it's an appropriate use for the site, whether or not it's comprehensive plan appropriate. It's based solely on the facts of the case. So with that, we are prepared for questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Commissioners, I'll now entertain questions from us for staff regarding the request.
Chair.
Any questions?
In layman's,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Commissioner Stewart, in layman's term, what is staff position on this?
Yes.
Okay, because it's all over the place.
Sure. So the decision is that the use that's proposed is considered a truck stop, which is not a permitted use in the C2 zoning district.
Right.
Any other questions for staff?
Well, I would like to know, is there going to be a presentation from the applicant tonight?
Yes.
I'll reserve.
Thank you, staff. Appreciate it. So now we will entertain a motion, and we'll also need a second to open the public comment period for this discussion. Do I have a motion to open the public comment period?
Commissioner Stewart, I motion that we open the public comment period.
Second, Commissioner James.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We will open the public comment period. I'll now hear from all those in favor of the application. First, will the applicant please come to the podium for any presentation?
Thank you. Good evening. William Deal on behalf of the applicant. My address is Tucson Court, Peachtree Corners, Georgia. We're proposing a secondary variance tonight, and tonight the planning application is acting as essentially an appeal board. As staff laid out, the issue here is what "and" means. And traditionally and across many interpretations of statutory law, "and" means "and." It means if this truck stop, this property only qualifies for a truck stop if it provides fuel, parking, and sometimes food. The plant staff has said that this is a Scrivener's error, that it should have been "or." But the law is clear that where the law specifically provides a remedy, provides an ordinance that says "and," my client has to be bound by what's written in the law. And so we're proposing tonight that this application be accepted and that what is written in the ordinance be strictly construed against my client and allow for a development. My client is not proposing parking on this facility. There will only be diesel pumps. Those pumps will be available for use for whoever needs diesel fuel. It's not specifically for trucks. There will not be truck parking. There will be signs for truck parking. There is also a convenience facility that is already there. It will be existing. It will not be impacted or changed. That's essentially what's before you tonight, "and." And as we mentioned in our application, when the ordinance uses "and," it means "and." And the setback requirements for residential development are 20 feet for front yard setback, 15 for side yard setback, and 20 for your rear yard. And the ordinance uses "and," it doesn't mean "or." It doesn't mean that I can get my zoning approved or my lot approved if I meet one of those. That's what we're asking for tonight, is for the zoning ordinance to be interpreted as it was written.
Thank you. Is there anyone else speaking here in attendance? Oh, yes, go ahead.
If I could reserve any time for rebuttal.
Okay. Is there anyone else speaking in favor of the application? If so, please make your way to the podium to speak. If there is no one else, now I'll hear from all those in opposition of the application. Please come forward to the podium if you are opposed to this application. And please state your name and your address.
Okay, my name is Sheila Hearn, and I have driven here from Nashville, Tennessee. My partner of 22 years passed away on Christmas Eve, and I am his executor, and he owns the property that is directly across from where this proposed variance is they're asking for. I'm executor of his estate, and it was somewhere in the range of 18, 19 acres. So my goal is to try to preserve the value of the property for the sake of the estate and the heirs, and I do not believe that allowing a truck stop And I realize that the argument here is that it's not a truck stop, but from what I can tell, we're kind of on semantics here. So there's so many reasons that I don't believe a truck stop is going to be advantageous to the area. It doesn't increase property values. Typically, you will see truck stops happen in areas that are not particularly desirable for a community or community development with homes. It's not aesthetically good. It's not good for the environment. There's all kinds of issues that come from establishments like that. So just to go on record, I want to say that it's not something that we're in favor for, and we're hoping that you will not allow that.
Thank you very much. Anyone else here that is in opposition to the application, please come forward to the podium. State your name and address in your opposition.
Hey, I'm Molly Mayfield. I'm representing Landmark Christian School. I personally live in Noonan, 4195 Smoky Road, but I'm representing across the street. I just wanted to relate to the committee what we observe. We make that path from the expressway to the school on a daily basis. While the applicant says that will not be a truck stop, our observation is that trucks are parked there all the time. So whether it's intended in the application or not, we find that their practice is to park large vehicles there that we feel like is a danger to the community, and it does create a lot of congestion in the area that we don't think will be beneficial to the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else would like to come to the podium and speak in opposition? If no one else, thank you all very much for your comments. I'll now entertain a motion and a second to now close the public comment. Oh, yes. You want time for a rebuttal? Yeah, no problem. Absolutely.
I just want to say that we're not here tonight on a zoning application. We're just here tonight on the interpretation of the ordinance. So while I understand that there may be concern about what should be allowed and what should be permitted, that's not what's before you tonight. What's before you tonight is the word and I just ask that that be interpreted as it's intended to be interpreted, to be conjunctive, and that all requirements have to be met. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So now, appreciate that. I need to have a motion and a second to close the public comment period.
A motion that we close the public comment period. Commissioner James?
Commissioner Deavers, second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Commissioners, now is your time to ask questions of staff, the applicant, and members of the public that have spoken in favor and or opposition.
I would like to comment, Commissioner.
Absolutely.
Okay, Mr. Deal, I'm reading over your letter to Richard Edwards, Planning and Zoning Commission, and I'm noticing, well, I'm looking at, there's a part where you mentioned, like you just said, that all three, either whether we're talking about providing fuel, parking, and sometimes food, that these requirements are made in the conjunctive, which means that you're saying all or nothing, right?
That's correct.
Okay, well, when I look at that, the sentence, a truck stop is a commercial establishment that provides fuel, parking, and sometimes food. In interpretation, if you take and sometimes food or sometimes food, that's the same thing in my opinion. But what I would like to say is that if you're removing parking spaces, why are we not focusing on the word parking as well? Whereas you're not going to have parking spaces for overnight parking, extended parking, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
So are we talking about the fact that we're talking about food service, or is it that you're saying all three of these have to be involved?
I think you're right. And the word sometimes does add a little bit of nuance here, but still that and must mean, at a very minimum, parking and fuel. We are not providing parking, and so we do not fit the definition of a truck stop.
So as mentioned earlier, I live right down the street from this area, and like Ms. Mayfield mentioned, I see huge trucks. I've got maybe 10 pictures on my phone right now. I pass it every day. There are 2 to 3 semis or tractor trailers or what have you park there every day
Every day.
for extended periods of time already. And we haven't even set this up for diesel fuel pumps, which would bring, who knows how many trucks, but it's already being used as a truck stop, whether you know it or not. And again, as mentioned, there's a traffic issue, there's issue with property values, there's issues with even crossing where it's located. That's a really weird intersection where if a huge truck needs to cross, we're gonna hold up a lot of traffic. So there are several issues and we know that you're focusing on semantics here, but even by reading this, I don't see how what you're saying is enough for us to push forward and not call this a truck stop.
Well, respectfully, it's interpretation of the ordinance. And I understand that it's been presented as being semantics here, but it's not semantics to my client. It is, what does the ordinance allow him to do? And the ordinance says a truck stop is a facility that provides parking and fuel. We are not proposing truck parking. And to the extent that there is existing parking now, I'm not aware of it, but the site plan that we've proposed has said there will be no truck parking. There are parking spots for traditional passenger vehicles, and that will be enforced, and that can be enforced by code enforcement. It'll be enforced by my client as well.
So, and I'm sorry. So basically, it would be left up to the city of Atlanta to police this establishment, whereas, like I'm saying, it's already being used as a truck stop, partially. So, again, we're just saying, we're here to protect the citizens of Fairburn and the environment here in Fairburn. There is no way that you can guarantee that it won't be used as a truck stop of sorts, correct?
We can propose that there will be enforcement. That enforcement has to come from code enforcement, and it can be, and it's something that my client will also. And likewise, my client can be brought in front of Fairburn's municipal court for violations of the ordinance to say you are not allowed to have truck parking, and there has been truck parking. That can be enforced in that way, but it cannot be enforced through retroactively reading or when the ordinance says and.
Any other questions from commissioners?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. As I sit here and I listen to a lot of that have come before us already, I guess one of the things that I look at, I too reside in Fairburn. I pass every day this particular, I call it service station because I get gas. And I look at it because the first thing I see when I'm coming home, coming into Fairburn, I see a big, beautiful sign that says, "Welcome to Fairburn." That's the first thing that catches my eye. And now that I'm looking at the service station transforming into diesel, I'm thinking about the eyesores, but I'm also thinking about the school system that we have. We have Landmark over here. We have an apartment complex that sits actually within walking distance from where this particular station is located. Not only that, there are other houses and neighborhoods, right? So we're bringing this into the entrance of Fairburn. This is the gateway into Fairburn. So, I just feel, and this is my perception of it. I see trucks sitting there again, as Commissioner James saying, sitting there for long periods of time. I'm thinking about the traffic flow. What kind of traffic flow are we gonna have? For people that are trying to get out and go to work. And we have trucks that already congest from the interstate all the way back, dealing with the big trucks. But the type of traffic flow that we're gonna deal with, it's just all kinds of, I just don't feel that it's the proper place for this.
And I understand that, but what's before you tonight is not about what is the best use of this property. What is its future land use designation? What should the zoning district be? What should we apply? This is about the enforcement of the ordinance. And our argument is that plain reading of the ordinance, we are not a truck stop. And so we are asking that this not be applied retroactively. And I'll note that the planning department initially, when plans were provided, agreed that if we removed trucking, we would no longer be listed as a truck stop. And we provided that in our letter, certification from the planning department. And so that's our position, is that tonight is not a zoning decision. Tonight is about the interpretation of the ordinance. And Georgia law is clear. You must strictly comply with it. The ordinance must be interpreted as with its ordinary reading. Its ordinary reading is and.
Yep, go ahead,
I
Commissioner.
see the original application was in 2016. Can I ask, what's the reason for the delay before coming back at the end of 2022?
There was some site plans revisions that were made, and ultimately my client came back later, but he came back with the same ordinance, looking to do the same use. There was no change to the ordinance, no change to the zoning district.
Any other questions from fellow commissioners?
I want to ask,
Absolutely, go ahead, Commissioner.
Barry, can you explain that, what he's talking about, what is our duties tonight? Can you just kind of break that down, because
Yes, please.
He is correct, and staff has said the same thing in terms of what's before you, so this is an interpretation issue. You act as the planning commissioners in a quasi-judicial role, so you hear staff's interpretation, you hear the applicant's argument, and you weigh the facts against the ordinance, and you make a determination as to which argument you agree with. And that's why you either affirm staff's decision or you would reverse staff's decision. So what's before you is about the interpretation that staff made in terms of whether or not this is a truck stop.
I have one more question for you.
Absolutely, go for it.
And looking at the map again, where we were talking about the light gray and the dark gray, in the dark gray area where there will be the 4 diesel pumps, is there also an additional building to go there?
There is not.
Just pumps? And no parking spaces?
No
large
parking.
parking space?
That's correct.
Any other, excuse me, questions from commissioners? If there are no additional questions or discussions, I can now call this item to a vote. You will see, as staff has said, there is the ability to provide motions to affirm in whole, affirm partly, or reverse, if I am correct. Thank you, staff, right? So I will now call this item to a vote for any motions.
I would like to make a motion that we affirm in whole the Planning and Zoning Director's decision on the interpretation of the definition of a truck stop in Section 80-478.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor to affirm in whole the Planning and Zoning Director's decision on the interpretation of the definition of a truck stop in Section 80-478, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Jason, I'd like to recuse myself.
Okay. So should we do a roll call vote here, or, yeah, can I just go down the line with your verbal vote, please, into the microphone? Are you affirm? Commissioner Devers?
I affirm.
Commissioner James, I affirm.
Commissioner Stewart, I affirm.
Commissioner Smith, recuse.
Commissioner Echols affirm.
Thank you. The motion does carry. Staff report. Hello, staff. Welcome to 2023. Will you provide us any updates to the commission?
Yes, welcome. Don't have anything further right now, just look forward to, we've been transitioning the role over to Denise probably for about been quite a month yet? Not quite. So we're looking forward to working with her and passing the baton. You're in great hands.
Awesome. Now I'll open up for our wonderful commissioner comments. Commissioner Devers, we'll start just down here. Any comments?
Always have a comment. It's been a wonderful holiday. Was able to get out to the city council last night, and it was absolutely amazing. First of all, let me say to put it on record, the city council, the mayor, the employees, the city of Fairburn, they showed up and showed out when it came to the water situation. I just want to put that on record of being noted. They went over and beyond what anyone could have ever done. And that says a lot about Fairburn and where we're headed. We are going to be cohesive this year as a planning and zoning commission, and we're going to do the right things because it's the right things to do. Thank you, Jason.
You're up.
Okay.
Mr. James.
Thank you. Again, welcome to everyone, into 2023. It's going to be another great year, and you kind of stole my thunder because I, again, would like to echo that I'm very proud of our mayor and council and staff, city staff, and everyone, because we went through something so uncomfortable for Christmas, but they did everything they could, and they went above and beyond. They worked over the holiday, and that's just, it was wonderful to see that. They did everything they could do to help us. So no matter what you hear out there, they are number one. So I appreciate them. And I definitely want to, again, congratulate our new chief, Anthony Bozzitlo. He's the best, and I'm so glad he's finally chief of Fairburn.
I'm losing my voice. Good.
Commissioner Stewart, I just want to say, Georgia has one team to root for.
Go Dogs.
One team, go Dogs. And I want to say Happy New Year to everyone, and I want to say congratulations and welcome aboard to our new chair, Jason Jones. And I just like the direction that this board is going in. It's Planning and Zoning Board. And once again, I want to welcome our new Planning and Zoning Director. Welcome aboard.
Commissioner Smith, I want to echo what Ms. Jane said about our new chief. I think he deserves it. I think he's going to be a good chief here for the city of Fairburn. And I'm just obliged to be working with these group of people up here. They're making the great decision for the city of Fairburn and citizens.
Commissioner Eccles, first, yes, congratulations for a few tonight, coming into 2023. First to Chief Bozzitlo. He's a great person, wonderful person, hands-on person. He's super. He's super. And congratulations to our new commissioner on the planning and zoning. And congratulations to our new director. Welcome, and thank you. And I'm hoping and praying that 2023 is going to be better than 2022. I personally went through a lot of things in 2022 that I pray is behind me, with the sicknesses, with myself, my family. We got through it, and I know 2023 is going to be a better because I have faith that it will. And I have faith that people pay attention to to others in 2023 when people are going through things, and if you notice that a person is out of character or not in their element and something is wrong, pull a person aside and say, hey, is something wrong? Are you okay? It makes a big difference. And my belief is that we are all under one Heavenly Father. We are all brothers and sisters, and that's the way I treat people, and I pray that everybody does the same.
Thank you so much. I'd like to thank Commissioner Eccles for your leadership. As we've been through this, absolutely. I'm certainly honored to take on this position, so I appreciate the fellow commissioners having faith in me. I promise to do my best. I certainly would also like to echo the comments about the way the city handled the crisis. And on a football note, I'd like to actually congratulate Langston Hughes on what I do think is the greatest Georgia high school football team I have ever seen in my entire life. Come on. I think they could have done better than TCU. So very proud of the city. of Fairburn. And with that, I'd like to see if there is a motion to call this meeting to a conclusion.
Commissioner Smith, call this meeting to adjourn.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you so much. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
One field goal away.